So finally, the Khaos Reigns update has released for Mortal Kombat 1, and we're going to be focusing here primarily on the Nintendo Switch version. We're going to be looking at the changes, the improvements, and the bugs, because there's always going to be bugs too, so we got to look at that. And there are some unfortunate ones, but there's also a lot of good stuff that we were treated to with this update. First though, do me a solid and hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. I got a link to my Discord in the description, so check that out. And without further ado, let's get to it. So first things first, this was a really big update. It took me an hour and 20 minutes to download, and then it took another hour and another 20 minutes to install. For some reason on the Nintendo Switch, game downloads take just as long to install as they do to download. I don't remember that being the case before, say, a year ago, but it is now for some reason. I don't know why. Moving on though, the overall size of the game now tops in at a surprising 45.4 gigabytes, which is actually not much bigger than what it was before, which I say is surprising to me now because after I downloaded the game, but before the maintenance period ended, it was actually over 60 gigabytes. Later on, I checked the size of the game and it dropped to 45.4 gigabytes, so I don't know what the hell that's about, but yeah. And getting into the game, let's start with the major things like new DLC, the new Animalities and how they perform, new skins and things like that, and then we'll get into the bugs and Switch specific things. So with the Khaos Reigns update, one of the things we get is an expansion to the original story mode. The story expansion is not free and it has to be purchased. I already completed the Khaos Reigns story mode and I recorded the entire thing, so I'll be doing a review of it. Probably in the coming days, maybe I won't, but it's actually very short. It only took me 2 hours and 20 minutes to finish the entire thing. When it comes to the performance of the story mode, I would say that it's respectable when you consider that it's a PlayStation 5 game shrunk down into a Switch. Loading times are fine and did not often become annoying like in part 1. It is still pretty jarring to go from cutscene and transition into gameplay, but sometimes it looks decent and sometimes it doesn't. Take, for example, the very first fight. The transition from cutscene to gameplay was almost flawless. For a little bit, I thought that it was still a cutscene, even though it was actually gameplay. But I think the stage being so dark had a lot to do with it. You can tell too that this stage was running at a much higher resolution than stages do later on, because in a lot of the fights in story mode, Cyrax and Sector do not look as good as they do in the first fight. They actually look really good in the first fight. And there's almost always a brief pause anytime you transition from cutscene to gameplay. I don't remember even a single fight in story mode performing badly, so that's a good thing. Although the last thing to report on the story mode is that while screen tearing does still happen, it's nowhere near as frequent or as bad as it was in the original story mode. In the seasonal store, as you can see, every single character has new brutalities that you can purchase. Liu Kang has more variations of his Order of Darkness skin, as does Li Mei, Melina, etc. All the characters do. Also, here you can see what the new character select screen looks like with the new DLC characters on the side. On the right, we've got the movie characters that are not yet available and will not be available for a while. On the left, we've got Noob Saibot, Cyrax, and Sector, which are now available. In the premium store, the Wedding Scorpion and Empress Melina skins are available, as well as the Mortal Kombat 3 Noob Saibot skin. If you pre-order the Khaos Reigns update, then you should already have these skins because they come as part of the pack. This season of Mortal Kombat 1 also is going to have these really cool skins for Li Mei and Liu Kang. Here you can see a Bruce Lee style palette for Liu Kang. Unfortunately, I don't yet know how to unlock this one, but you can be sure that as soon as I find out, I'm going to get it. Hell, I'll even pay if I have to, but I really want that skin. I really want that skin. It is so cool. The shrine this season was mostly a bunch of new cameo brutalities and combat cards. There were no skins in the shrine this season, but there is a new feature that I did not notice before, where you can purchase up to 10 items at a time instead of just one. That was another obvious feature that should have been available day one, but at least we have it now. For invasions, I've only played about halfway through the first Mesa, and it does not look like much has changed, although I will say that the stage where you go through a portal to unlock a bunch of chests and a skin at the end, it does seem to load a lot faster than it did before. But the big thing with invasions this season, at least for me, is that you can see here they finally added a map so you can see where exactly on the stage you're at. It's over a year now, but we finally have this feature in Invasion, so that's a plus. One of the biggest things that people were looking forward to with the Khaos Reigns update was the Animalities. I was one of those people who thought that with this update, the Nintendo Switch version was not going to be able to handle the Animalities very well at all, but I am happy to report that I was completely wrong. Animalities perform very well, and they actually look pretty good. I'm a Liu Kang main, so let's take a very quick look at him in this update. In this new update, they actually gave Liu Kang a new string. It's his back 2-1. It's a mid, so usually when you do his back 2, most people are going to assume that you're going to follow that up with a back 2-3, but that's a high which can be ducked and punished pretty easily by good players. So with back 2-1, you can mix it up a bit, which is cool. It's very similar to the buff that Scorpion got a few months ago. My other main, Li Mei, got nothing with this update, so let's just move on. Sonya Blade got a cool buff. She now has an overhead that you can do when you're in the air, which can be amped if you use 2 cameo bars. Unfortunately, it still does not look like she's a good fit for Liu Kang, even with this, so I'm probably sticking with Mabato. Here are the Kombat League rewards. Honestly, I might only play up to Warrior this season just so I can get that Liu Kang skin. The rest of it does not entice me enough to put up with Kombat League's bullshit meta. And speaking of Kombat League, it looks like there was some improvement to the loading times. As you can see here, this match in Kombat League in the new patch took 28 seconds to load, where before they were taking 40 seconds to load. Though your mileage may vary, not every single KL match has the exact same loading times. Some might take more, some might take less, but 28 seconds is the fastest that I've ever seen a Kombat League match take to load in the Switch version. And heading over to casual mode, matches seem to now more often take closer to 15 seconds to load, so again, that's a bit of an improvement to the loading times. Again, that's 15 seconds, 1-5, not 5-0. Liu Kang's trenchcoat bug has finally been fixed with this update. For the last several patches, whenever you had this Liu Kang skin on, his back would bend it in on itself and it would just look really messed up. The long-awaited Warrior Shrine was actually a huge disappointment, and even more disappointing is that on the Nintendo Switch version, the Warrior Shrine is actually completely broken. It doesn't show. It's supposed to be a leaderboard that showcases the top 5 players for Kombat League in every season, but for some reason it only shows, in the Switch version at least, it only shows the top 5 players for the very first season. It doesn't show anything for any of the other seasons, so yeah, that's something that's gonna have to be fixed. So we've seen a lot of cool stuff up to this point, but now we gotta talk about something that's not so cool. There seems to be a pretty big bug that came with this update. You see this?
Round 1, fight.
Yeah, I did not lower the volume on this video. There's no audio. Something seems to have gone wrong with the update where pretty much none of the audio plays except for a few things like sound effects during the fatal blows. During match intermissions, the characters still say their lines, but as soon as the next round starts, the sound cuts off again. And don't get me wrong, like when I first downloaded the update and booted it up, everything was working perfectly. The sound was working perfectly, but after a while, like the sound just cut off. I don't know what's going on with that. And ever since this started happening, I have not been able to get the sound to come back on. Multiple people in my Discord have reported this bug as well, and the advice that I was given was to reset all my audio settings back to default, which I did, but it did not make any difference. Whether I'm in the Chaos theme or in the New Era theme, with all my audio settings on default and set to 100%, there is still no audio. This happens whether I'm in docked or in handheld mode. Even turning the Nintendo Switch console all the way off and turning it back on did not fix this. But even if it did, like if that's what I have to do to fix it, then you know, I did not pay $40 for this DLC to have to deal with this, so I hope that this gets worked out soon. There is still more to cover, but we're going to be doing that in a future video. I might review the story mode, episode. I might not. I did record the entire thing. Or, you know, maybe I'll just upload my entire playthrough to YouTube without reviewing it. I don't know. Let me know down in the comments what you want me to do with it regarding that. But in the coming days, I'm going to be doing a performance test for this update where we're going to be taking a look at the frame rate. So be on the lookout for that. And with all that said, I'm going to keep bringing you more combo videos, online matches, and video game news on Switch Played. Done.